Hey, what's up guys? BirdsallGaming here with
Tikio Panda.
And today we're going to be discussing a very kind of touchy subject. If you guys are hardcore Walking Dead fans, you guys will know exactly what we're talking about. Season 6 just ended with a massive cliffhanger, and we have no idea who the new villain, Negan, killed. So today, Tucker and I are going to be going over all the evidence on who we think was the person killed and why.
Right.
So first of all, who do you think it was, just without any evidence or anything?
Well, without looking at evidence, without looking at really any clues, anything that really happened, without looking at the ending itself, but just cutting that out and acting like I did not watch the finale, I would have to say, story-wise, who I feel the story is over would be Glenn, Eugene, or Abraham, mostly.
If we're going as far as, end of their story, it would either be Glenn, Abraham, or Eugene. Glenn, because he just got his first human kill, and that's a big character moment.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham, because, spoiler alert if you don't read the comics, he has already outlived his comic book self.
Yes.
And Eugene, because he had that big plan to take the RV and everything, and he gave Rick the plans to make the bullets and manufacture them.
Right.
So it would seem fitting for him to go out with sort of a bang, almost.
Correct. And also, Eugene, without looking at like the very end of season 6, Eugene himself, he started out as a coward, and then he really grew. He's like, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to just take the RV. I'm just going to distract him. How about all you guys go? And then he said goodbye to Abraham. He apologized. They had a bonding moment, and then he pretty much, just said, I'm changed, and going to do this for the team.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much why I'm pretty much...
Big character development. Like when Eugene first showed up on the show, I hated him. I hated him with a passion. I could not stand him, and now he's one of my favorite characters just because of the way they directed him, and the people that make The Walking Dead, they're absolute geniuses.
Yes.
So, moving on to the actual evidence, for those of you that would not like to know, there will be possible spoilers ahead.
Possible.
It's only possible. We are just going off what we think in our minds is correct.
Yeah.
So, going off the evidence, right off the bat, I would have to say that it is Michonne, who is the one that was killed by Negan. Who would you say?
Well, I mean, Michonne, definitely. She, how they played it out in the end was very, point of view-wise, very Michonne.
That's true. Walking Dead does a lot of POV shots, and it's one of their favorite things to do. They do it a lot. And every time that episode came back from commercial break, there was about 5 or 6 seconds of scene where it was just the back of a van. You could hear voices and everything. And when I first watched that, I assumed it was Daryl. But after going over the evidence again and looking back, the moment they opened up the van door, you can see the tip of Daryl's head in the corner.
Correct.
So the only person sitting directly behind Daryl was Michonne, leading us to believe that the person whose POV it was in the back of the van was Michonne's. Also, we have in the lineup, when Negan is doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo to figure out which one to pick, the only person who didn't have the bat show up next to their face was Michonne. Like, everyone else would have the bat up against their face, then it would be Michonne, no bat, and then right after that it would be the scene where it was the first person with the bat right there.
Correct.
So that leads us to believe that Michonne is seeing the bat coming down, and since the kill was in a first-person view, and Michonne throughout the episode was in a first-person view, you could correlate those two together. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, clues and hints themselves are both pointing to Michonne, but at the same time, I mean, there's so much stuff in the finale itself that's like, you know, sure it could be this person, sure it could be that person, and the real way to figure out, you know, go between it's gonna be this person, or this person, with decreasing the group itself, you have to just take people out. So how about we just go through and just take people out and just say it cannot be this person.
Alright, so we have the little design right here, that little frowny face, that's Negan because he's a big fat meanie. And then we have the lineup for the kill right here, the RV, then Glenn, Rosita, Daryl, Michonne, Abraham, Maggie, Rick, Sasha, Aaron, Carl, and Eugene.
Right.
All right there. And there's trees on the side of the RV. Those come into importance, but not at the moment.
Correct.
So right off the bat, we can cross off minor characters like Aaron. We can cross off Rick and Carl because they're the main characters.
Now let's hold up there for a second. Let's uncross almost all of those for a second.
Are you kidding me?
Just listen to it. Let's just go back for a second.
What you got?
Okay. So, if you've watched the video itself, not the video, I guess, the show, there's a part in that where I kind of want to hone in on. Yes, there is the part with Michonne. There's that. There's also a part where Negan goes by Rick's face. Shadow being on his, I guess on his left. So, going across, just showing Negan move. Now, of course, this being said, it was right before Negan, you know, went down and, you know, just bashed someone's face in. So, in a way, I'm kind of leaning towards keeping a couple of those characters open, but also, right before he kills the person, he also says, you may breathe, you may blink, you may cry, hell, you will all be doing this.
He did say that.
Yes, he did. And also he says, if anyone moves, I will cut the other boy's eye out and feed it to his father. Now, it's very apparent in that it's not going to be Rick or Carl. Because, obviously, Carl is going to be the son, Rick is going to be the father, and you're not going to feed a dead person's eyeball to a living person and or feed a living person's eyeball to a dead person. There's nothing gonna be, there's no point to that.
What's that?
So, there's that. So, I mean,
cannot be Rick or Carl.
It leaves Aaron and Eugene. But, without really going into the thing itself, the video, the audio, all that itself, you know, Aaron, I would use as a cop-out, you know? It could just,
yeah.
I mean,
he's not a major character. He's only been there for about a season and a half.
Right.
And he's not the most lovable character, and his death would not primarily affect the group. And if you watch this episode was primarily about breaking Rick Grimes.
Exactly.
They were just trying to get to Alexandria to help Maggie, and every single turn they would take.
Hilltop. Not Alexandria.
Yeah.
Hilltop. From Alexandria to Hilltop.
Yeah, it's, what is it, like 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 4:47.
Yeah, tired. So anyways, they were going from Alexandria to the Hilltop, and every single turn they would go, there would just be a group of saviors blocking their path. Everywhere they would go, there'd just be more and more. Eventually, they just run into Negan. Rick finally realizes there's no way we're getting out of this. He falls into like some sort of panic or shock, and the entire episode, Negan is just trying to break Rick, and I think that Michonne would be one of the biggest like deaths in order to break Rick, and it would really be a driving force for season 7. It would affect the entire group. She's been there since season 3.
Correct.
Yep. And she and Rick just got together, and that would seriously mess Rick up.
Yes.
And as much that's true. A little bit of everyone. And as much as I hate to say it, I truly, honestly think it is Michonne for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they do go with a cop-out, I would be upset, but it's not like I would ever stop watching the show because it is
exactly
such a good show.
Yes. And now I'm getting kind of into the comics here for a second. Negan is if you know the comics, which many of you probably don't, but that's fine. Nothing against that.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics, Negan is against killing women.
He does. He says that.
He
says,
says
I cannot
he's
kill women.
I mean,
cannot kill.
Exactly. He
race card. He cannot.
Exactly. He's one of those people that's, right in the mind. He's a villain that's, not literally insane like the governor or something like that,
Yeah.
In the comics, I believe that, some girl got raped or something like that. He just killed the person right then and there. He's just like, no, that's not okay. You don't rape people like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay. So, to an extent, I'm not really sure if they'd kill Michonne just because if to follow the comics, but also no death has ever been the exact same in the comics. So they might go a little bit away from the comics. I don't know.
That's true, because in the comic books, another spoiler alert, the person that got killed by Negan was the fan favorite Glenn, which would lead people to believe that it would be the fan favorite of the TV show, which would be Daryl Dixon. But there's no way. He's pretty much incapacitated. He's been shot. He's been bleeding out. He would not take a hit to the head like a champ for that very reason.
Correct. Negan himself said that he hits the person right in the head the first time. The person looks up at Negan. He's like taking it like a champ and then just starts bashing their face in again.
Yep.
Daryl, the episode before, got shot in the shoulder. He's not going to be taken like a champ. He is blood loss. He's barely surviving. So
he's barely able to just sit up and stand
and
look around.
Yeah, it's going to be someone who can take a blow to the face and look up and just be like, what's going on, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And Michonne, being a female, most females in the show are not as tough as some of the male characters, like, say, Abraham or Rick. But Michonne is not one of those girls. She is an incredibly tough girl. She's a great fighter, and she would take a hit from Lucille like a champ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. She would. But... So, you can pretty much clear out Rosita and Sasha.
Rosita, Sasha, gone for that reason. They would not take it like a champ. Daryl for that reason too.
Yeah, Daryl for that reason, and also, they're not going to kill Daryl just because he is literally the fan favorite. If he was to die, so many people would just stop watching. They'd be like, no. But also, they could do that and just be like, whoa, we did this, yes, but just watch the rest of the season and it'll all, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the start of a season. I understand that you don't like this, but we're going to make it better. It's going to be amazing,
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the only way they're going to be able to kill
And I don't like that they did a cliffhanger. I really don't want to wait all the way until October to find out who died, but...
6 months, yeah.
I understand why they did it, so...
Yeah,
I'll give AMC that.
Yeah. But also, the thing is, by the time that October 9th or whenever it starts comes around, we're going to be like, oh, the suspense isn't going to be gained again. You
guys are going to know already who died because you watched this video.
Yes, that's the point, I guess. But, you're not going to be as excited. So, the thing is, they're going to pretty much have to restart that whole entire scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which... If you watch the thing, Negan skips people in the order when he says eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The clip itself is just cut.
Scattered.
It's just scattered. So, many of the things like the shadow, the bat order, you can't go by that almost in a way. You have to go by the voices and what you actually, kind of see. You gotta just assume that everything's just opposite, in a way. Because, they could have taken something from here and then just placed it here and just say, oh, people are going to, think it's this.
People are just going to assume that. But I think when it comes time to the actual scene where it happens, they're going to drag it out a lot more than they did in the before
they're gonna have to.
The finale. And they're going to actually, instead of just beating the person right there, they're going to bring him up. They're going to show him to everyone. And then that person's just going to beg. And then Negan is not going to listen. And he's just going to beat them senseless.
Right, because, the whole point of Negan doing this, it's his reputation. You gotta kill one person. You killed my man. We're gonna take one of you, and you're gonna be part of the team. You're gonna give us half your stuff. But when that happens, what are they gonna give half of? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, equipment on its own. Obviously Rick's probably gonna get his pistol back. Michonne's probably, if she's alive, gonna get her,
her sword and
katana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Daryl still doesn't have his crossbow, so.
Yeah, and that also deals with Dwight too.
Yeah. Daryl versus Dwight.
I mean, that's the whole entire kind of thing right there. I mean, because it could honestly be Daryl. We don't know, but
maybe.
But if you also in the comic, Glenn took 5 hits, exactly 5 hits to die.
That's true. In the comic book.
In the show, it took 8.
No, he beat him 8. He beat him or her 8.
8 times.
But that person died on the second hit.
Exactly. Well, yeah. But even in the comic, Glenn was dead at like 3. Because at that time, he got hit once in the face. He tried to get up and he screamed, Maggie, Maggie. It was a big moment,
Very emotional.
So the second time, he was dead. And by then, Negan just kept smacking him. So a lot of things are stirring around that there might be actually 2 people. And I mean, I don't
know why they'd do that. They only need to do one to prove their point.
But also, Negan did say, don't interfere. I mean, that could be, someone interfered and then he's just like, no, you're going down with him, kind of thing. I don't know.
That's true.
Also,
Because there's a lot of people that are in that lineup that would not just sit idly by and watch their friends get beat to death.
I mean, if it was Michonne, Rick would just stand up right then. Not saying Rick would die, because that's even more of a loss than Daryl almost, in a way. So, I mean, I don't know.
He already gave him one freebie, though, when he was threatening to kill Maggie and Glenn jumped out of line in front of her. He said
it's an emotional time.
He said it's an emotional time. I get it. I understand. He said, I'll give you that one freebie.
Yes.
So I think after going through all that, I do not think he would kill Glenn after that.
No. I mean, at the same time, he does want to affect the people there to know he's not messing around. He wants to really affect them. So, Glenn, it's like, it's going to affect Maggie, pretty much, It
would affect all of the Atlanta 5 that are still around. It would affect...
Mostly Maggie's, I'm trying to say, because, I mean, the child was, like, right there,
That's true, because in the comic books, Glenn dying was a driving force for Maggie to go over to the hilltop and become the leader there.
Yeah, which that's probably not going to happen in the show.
That probably will not happen if Glenn does not die. Then Maggie will have no reason to leave the group and go to the hilltop.
Exactly. Because, honestly, Glenn is the only reason why Maggie is pretty much staying. I mean, yeah, she's friends with him,
Yeah.
But... Glenn, that's her husband, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to this, I guess.
So we can cross off Glenn.
Cross out Glenn.
And
also Maggie.
Glenn and Maggie.
If you watch the show, she is having issues with the baby, maybe miscarriage. Don't know. She's not going to be taken like a champ. Definitely not.
No.
She is no. So, we're left with Michonne, Abraham, or Eugene.
So let's cross those off. Michonne, Abraham, or Eugene.
Correct. Now,
Michonne, Abraham, Eugene.
Yes.
Who's Negan gonna kill?
I don't know. Here's the thing. Negan could be threatened by Abraham in the way that everyone else was crying. Everyone else was sad. He was looking at the ground just like, oh my god. And Negan went by, his first glance. He's just kind of talking, just seeing, trying to pick someone. And then there's Abraham, he's sitting there, looks up, and Negan's looking at him. And all Abraham does is just kind of, get more firm, I guess. I don't really know how to say it, but he stands up more.
Back.
Yeah, he just looks right up at him and shows that he is not scared of him, and that Negan has not broken Abraham. You know what I'm saying? So Negan could be like, oh, he could be a really big threat to me, Everyone else is threatened by me almost.
Yeah.
So Abraham was not. That's my only point for Abraham, really.
Yeah. As far as Eugene, he made that big exit where he gave Rick the plans for the bullets and all that.
So a lot of people are thinking Eugene.
A lot of people would think Eugene for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly do not think so. Because, as I said, the trees would fall into fact earlier. In the background of the kill scene, there were trees in the background. And if Eugene was the kill, you would see the RV right here as he was getting beat. And there was a serious lack of RV in the kill shot.
Correct. But also, it has been said that it was only Negan and, just a body kind of thing. Because supposedly they don't even know who died. Not really sure how true that is.
I don't believe that. I think all the actors know who died.
Well, because here's the thing. They wouldn't have been affected if they didn't know. Because Andrew Lincoln said he couldn't sleep, was late to work. Lauren, she said that, she was just mentally affected by it.
Yeah.
I mean, those would not be the reactions of this if they didn't know.
Yeah.
Honestly. And, I mean, it's hard.
It's a tough thing.
But also, it has been said that there isn't really, you can't really get anything out of the hints that they gave.
That is
but
very
then there's
true.
also the ones that are like, it's hard, but you're gonna be able to. So there's a lot of things going around right now. I mean, they start recording like in a couple days from when I'm recording this, so maybe more will go out then. I don't know. Hopefully.
We'll find out later.
We can only hope.
This is a very tough subject to cover just because the fact that there are so many clues and so many theories out there that it's very hard to pinpoint a certain correct one. And I just think after everything I've gone through myself and after all the other theories I've watched about other characters,
yes,
I strongly believe in my heart, I hate to say it, but I believe that it is indeed Michonne.
Yeah. I am going to get kind of back to the whole shadow thing. When Negan is killing the person, he says, "You may breathe," looks this exact direction. "You may breathe, you may blink, you may cry." Now, if it was Eugene, why would he look to the right? I mean, sure, people, kind of like, they just kind of daze that. When they're talking, they just kind of look over and stuff.
But if you watch, he significantly looks over.
Significantly looks.
He's looking at someone. And there's no one to Eugene's right.
I mean, maybe it's, maybe it's a savior. Maybe, he's just checking out. Like, because I know the saviors are behind everyone, bigger circle. So maybe he's looking at the, I don't know. It's something, but strongly unlikely that it's Eugene from my point of view. But still could be. Also, going back to the breathing thing, and the blinking and the crying. Breathing, it points right to Rick, honestly. Because
Rick was in a bit of a shock, he was in panic, he was breathing really heavy. But then again, so was Glenn.
Exactly.
And so was Eugene.
I'm gonna get back to that too. So I'm gonna work with the right side of the lineup. So you may breathe, you may blink. He'd be looking at Carl. It's pretty obvious. Because he just said that anyone moves, you're gonna get your other eye cut out, kind of thing. So you may blink, it's all good. And then the whole crying thing.
There was only one person that was crying in the lineup.
Rosita. I mean, not Rosita.
Sasha.
Sasha.
You're ahead in the game, man.
Oh, yeah, you're one to talk. Just kidding. It'd be Sasha. She was the only one crying, except for maybe Rosita. We don't really know. Her face was just kind of like sweaty, mostly, so it's hard to know if she was actually crying or not. But, could be. And the only one in between those would be Aaron. So that's a cop-out. I mean, they could honestly just go with that and use that as a cop-out.
It would not have the effect as it should on the group.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be a driving force, and I think it would make people more upset than the cliffhanger.
It
if they
honestly
did a cop
would,
out.
because they did all this build up.
They had all this
pretty
build
much
up for Negan, and he was supposed to be a huge villain, the biggest in the series.
Exactly.
And he's supposed to take this major character, one that's been since day one or season 3, you never know, and just completely murder that person and just destroy the group, break Rick. And if they didn't do that, that would be an even bigger letdown than the cliffhanger.
Exactly. Now that I went with the right side, I'm gonna go with the left side. The whole breathing thing, that could definitely be Glenn. Definitely. He is worried sick about Maggie. He's like, frightened. Obviously, he stood up,
He was the only one to do that.
Exactly. So he'd definitely be breathing. Now blinking, I'm looking at Abraham. He looks straight at Negan. Straight on. Did not blink. Just looked straight at him. Definitely, I'm going with that. Abraham for blinking. You agree?
I do.
Okay. So, and then there's the crying. So the only people between that was Rosita, Daryl, and Michelle. So, looking this way at another person, probably Rosita. I know. I'm sure that Daryl was not crying, and neither was Michonne. So it's Rosita for that, and so it leaves Daryl and Michonne on that side.
So that cuts out Abraham.
Yeah, we'll just go with that, and it leaves Michonne.
One person left to get killed by the meanie.
Yeah, and I honestly, it pains me to say that because I really don't want it to be that person.
I don't either, but all evidence.
I mean, literally, her story almost just started with Rick, and just to end it, people are going to be affected, which is what the people who make a show like that would do. They would just want to tear the fans up, but also be like, well, it's all good, watch the rest. You'll be fine. You're going to love how it works out. It's all going to work out in the end. And, I mean, tell me who you think it is in the comments. Really. Honestly do. Because we could be missing something. Honestly, tell us if we are. And, I really hope it's not Michonne. But if it is, I'll be fine with it. I'll live with it. But I mean, it's gonna break people, honestly, because she's been there since season 3, and then Abraham's been there since 4. So I mean, the difference there is longer, and also, even more who would affect them is the Atlanta 5, which the only ones there is Carl, Glenn, Rick, Daryl,
and that's it. Those are the only people there that are from the
Carol
Atlanta 5.
is not there.
Carol is not there.
She ran off on her little. Not going to kill anyone else.
Her little escapade.
Yeah, she's flipping out. And now she's with Morgan. So, yeah. It's going to be how that works out, I guess. And, yeah. Like I said, leave a comment what you think. If you think we're right, great.
Perfect.
If we changed your mind, even better almost. I mean,
perfect.
We really do want to be right on this. Because all the clues that we have seen really do add up to that. But also, the finale was clipped. Not clipped, I should say. Cut.
Scattered.
It was very scattered. So, it could be the opposite of what we were honestly thinking by hints. I mean, because the whole lineup was screwed up. Everything. And, yeah.
So, I guess until October, we'll never know.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching. And as always, peace.